I'll keep going as long as my little stubby fingers will let me go. I tried to share this with Brett and with Matt as well, but I have reached my message quota for them. We're not mutuals on here. So if you want to get it over to them, I did tag them in the video. Anybody who wants to, let them know or whatever.
Well, thank you for,
Sorry.
and they're sturdy.
And they're very sturdy. Listen, these are double insulated. They will come with a stainless steel straw and a cleaning brush, and they keep your cold drinks cold for like 8 to 10 hours, I think. And if
That's amazing.
like your hot coffee, it's like 6 to 8 hours or something. I use these all the time. I am going to be carrying this one with me everywhere I go. I did also order a T-shirt, Steve, so that should be getting here soon. I think I ordered it through yours. But I'm going to be carrying this everywhere. I went out last night, Saturday, to my friends, and they were like, "Oh, that's interesting. What is that?" And I said, "Yeah, it is interesting. Let me tell you about it." And so I can't wear the same T-shirt every single day, but by God, I'm going to carry this every single day, and I'm going to tell anybody who will listen what this is about. So that's it. Thank you for the time. I appreciate you so much. Love y'all.
Thank you very much. You have
Be
a
good
day.
to yourselves.
Thanks again.
Have a good
See you
day.
later.
All right. Drop me down.
You got it. So there you go. So that's how we use our talents to do things for good. So again, that's available in Swish's eBay store, which is in a link in her link tree in her bio. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm good.
Okay.
Still alive.
Yes, you are. There you are. By the way, I need everybody to see. I need everybody to see my felt Christmas tree Christmas sweater. It's actual felt, right?
I was gonna wear red. I wish I knew you were going to, and then I would have worn. I had.
Yeah, it was like a last minute thing. I realized that I have it in my closet. So welcome to a Monday. Welcome to the hellscape that is the Musk administration.
Amen.
Yeah. So Felice and I were talking about this, and there's so many. I mean, there's so many things that we can cover off on. Before we get too deep into that, I want to touch on the Amazon and the Starbucks strike a little bit because I think it's really interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, the picket lines, in particular, the picket line for everybody. Please like and share the live. Tapping is clapping. Sharing is caring. Felice's pay apps are above her head. Please consider supporting her. For those of you who do not know, Felice talks about, she's very humble about this. She talks about her outlines. I cannot tell you, for somebody who's worked in research and all these kinds of things, I cannot tell you how unbelievably detailed they are. So thank you in advance, and everybody should thank you for the amount of work that you put in to do these kinds of things. So thank you for doing that. So
thank you.
So the Amazon strike in particular was really this is like the example of the class war that we've been talking about, right? Because as we've said many times from the get-go, this entire thing has been a distraction. That's been the entire point. Let's talk about brown people. Let's talk about women. Let's talk about the LGBTQA community. Hate them. Meanwhile, we're putting more billionaires in our cabinet. Just recently, the former co-founder of PayPal is now a member of the Trump team. So here we are. We've got this strike, Amazon workers striking, and that the Amazon workers strike, they want to unionize. It's not just liberal Democrats. It's not just woke purple-haired people. It's people from all walks of life. Conservative voters, Republicans, independents, progressives. It literally touches everybody because they employ so many people. So this is one of those things where maybe America is waking up in many regards, right? So, by the way, I did a little bit of research. Jeff Bezos, his net worth is now $265 billion. He makes $28,344 a minute. Starting salary for somebody in a warehouse annually is $28,000 a year. So, again, he makes $28,344 a minute. The starting salary for somebody who works in his warehouse is $28,000 annually. So, the point that we've been trying to make is that it's the billionaire class that is corrupting our nation, the oligarch class. And that text that I sent you, that tweet that Elon put out over the weekend or last week, I'm going to find it again because I think it says everything that we need to say. And I'll read it to you. Where is it? Who did I send that to? Did I send it to myself? I know where it is. Hold on.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, like I'm just looking up, like, because when you look at a corporation and what Jeff Bezos is doing, you look at, what is the wealth inequality ratio between the average worker and Jeff Bezos. And this is just what we're looking. Jeff Bezos's net worth, yeah. Average Amazon worker data. This is from as of 2023. So median Amazon worker salary. So this isn't starting the lowest starting. It's the median average across all states. 34,000 a year, including benefits and stock options, 39,000 a year. So there's no benefits and stock options. Like, I mean, this creates a wealth income ratio of roughly, wait a minute, I don't even know what that, 175 billion to 39,000 or 4.5 million to 1. Is the wealth to income ratio. That's crazy.
I really want to read this because I think it
Go
tells
ahead.
us everything. Or is it? I gotta find. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this was a tweet that Elon put out, right? So again, remember, part of the whole push from Project 2025 and Agenda 47 and the Republican platform was that they wanted to get rid of unelected bureaucrats from our government, civil servants, the whole Schedule F thing. They wanted to replace 15,000 federal workers with loyalists. The key component to that was unelected bureaucrats. Felice, what has Elon Musk been elected to?
Exactly. He's the richest unelected bureaucrat in the world.
Vivek, was he elected?
No, he was not.
Yeah, is Doge an official government agency?
It is not. At best, it's a commission.
So
No,
this is Elon's tweet. With Trump appointing me and other billionaires to his cabinet, I keep hearing the term oligarchy thrown around. Do people not realize that politicians are already beholden to the ultra wealthy, that they have been for decades? Why insist on keeping the middlemen? I think that tells you everything you need to know. We don't need Congress.
I can't.
We don't need the politicians. Just hand the keys to the whole fucking car to us in the billionaire class, and we got this. I'll read that one more time.
Which is
With
going
Trump,
back to aristocracy, right? Like, that's the point.
exactly. With Trump appointing me and other billionaires to his cabinet, I keep hearing the term oligarchy thrown around. Do people not realize that politicians are already beholden to the ultra wealthy, that they have been for decades? Why insist on keeping the middlemen? Crazy.
Yeah, my thoughts on that. Like, I just want to, and God, I'm going to say the scary word. Guys, keep tapping the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 50K as fast as possible for Facts. He hosts such a great, safe space with such informative topics. Let's see if we can get to 50K as fast as possible and share the live. And if you don't have anyone to share with, just push the copy link button, and it is super helpful to index in the algorithm. Yeah, my thoughts on that are this. The point of capitalism, right? The whole thing, like after the French Revolution, was because that's what was going on. There were the serfs, just people who were tied to the land, and then there were the rich people, right? There was the donor class, the aristocracy, right? And their survival, these people down here were surviving on these people, or were dependent on the noblesse oblige, is what they called it, of the people up here. And Marx, I mean, that's what Marx was saying was,
Right.
hey, I liked what the French Revolution was about. It was about the rise of the middle class, right? The rise of the bourgeoisie, and saying, hey, I don't want to be dependent on the donor class anymore for my survival in this economy. But essentially cutting out the middleman is it going back. I mean, that's what he's saying. He's like, let's go back to the time when there was the donor class, and then there were the serfs that were tied to the land, dependent on the donor class for survival. That's one of the scariest things to hear somebody say ever.
Yeah, and again, remember, MAGA, don't forget, the whole Trump campaign and the message that they sent to you through various means was there's too many bureaucrats in Washington, too many people, unelected officials scattered throughout our government, bureaucracy, unelected officials who were civil servants by definition, not nonpartisan people within politics who get the work done. Like we always say, they're the ones that make the sausage. They're the ones that are no name, no face, but they're the ones that are doing the work. They span multiple administrations because they know the system. They know how it works. They keep the government moving. So instead of that, they are being replaced with loyalists within the Musk administration because Donnie can't get out of the high chair. And now they're being replaced with bureaucrats again, unelected individuals, but this time, they're billionaires. So there's another example. I'll read this one because I think this is fascinating. Another example of somebody else. Here's more of the deep state. I'm pleased. This is from Trump's on True Social. I am pleased to announce Ken Howry as to the Kingdom of Denmark. Ken is a world-renowned entrepreneur, investor, and public servant who served our nation brilliantly during my first term as U.S. ambassador to Sweden, where he led efforts to increase defense, security, and economic cooperation between our countries. As a co-founder of PayPal and venture capital fund, Founders Fund, Ken turned American innovation and tech leadership into global success stories, and that experience will be invaluable in representing us abroad. For purposes of national security and freedom throughout the world, the United States of America feels that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity. Ken will do a wonderful job in representing the interests of the United States. Thank you, Ken, and congratulations. Another billionaire in the Trump cabinet. Another billionaire in a position within our government who, again, is looking out for us. Now, this obsession that he's had with Greenland, it's like, and now the Panama Canal.
No, it's oil. Just to be clear, that's about oil.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, okay, yeah. So that's just since the polar ice caps are melting and will probably lead to our imminent demise. I guess he wants to make $1 trillion for his oil and gas cronies, right? Remember when he was going to trade Greenland? Thanks, Cookie. W Cookie. I love that Christmas tree. I love it. Remember when he was going to trade Greenland for Puerto Rico?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and then the statements from recently on True Social from wanting to take back the Panama Canal, and the Panamanian government's like, yeah, no. So these are the distractions like we've been talking about, which goes back to this whole strike, this Amazon strike. So I was fortunate because Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, has this really, she's using her money wisely. Since their divorce, she's given nearly $20 billion to causes. And I can say that I wrote a grant for the Vermont Food Bank a couple of years ago and got $10 million, which was twice their annual operating budget from the Scott Foundation. She actually came to a ribbon cutting ceremony there, and I got to meet her. It was a very surreal kind of moment. I'm thinking, okay, here's this ex-wife of this guy that we despise, and she's doing this amazing work. So that's an example. As Jeff Bezos' wealth grows, as Elon's wealth has increased just since the election by like over 100%. This is what's happening. This is what we now see, infiltration within our government. And what we saw last week was Donald Trump's political power diminishing again and again and again and again. If you think about, and I've got some really interesting audio that I'm going to play in just a minute. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, just to say, like, what's going on if you don't know about the Amazon strike specifically, Jeff Bezos is denying workers the right to unionize. The Teamsters are sort of helping them attempt to do this. They're doing it in major cities, like the only fulfillment center in New York, like there's been some walkouts, but they're being demonized, and Amazon is fighting this in court, right? They are not allowing people, they're forming like, I guess, unrecognized labor groups and unions, but Amazon is refusing to negotiate and refusing to deal with them in any way. And I was talking about this I think it was Thursday, that Elon Musk was tweeting that it's best to just privatize the federal government, to chop, so basically, I mean, what he was talking about was chopping it up into pieces, divvying it up between billionaires. And Jeff Bezos, this is after, I believe, did they have dinner on Wednesday night? I think they had dinner Wednesday night. Mm-hmm. This is Thursday. They're chatting on X about it's best to privatize the federal government. I made my prediction that of course is going to mean Jeff Bezos wants the United States Postal Service. Yep. He already is building. He hated negotiating with them when, as Amazon, he famously went around them, started developing his own infrastructure to deliver packages because he did not want to negotiate with the federal government. And I mean, and now he's on X talking about, we should privatize the federal government. I just want everyone to know, like, this thing about firing civil servants and that, the bureaucracy is bloated, that it's a lie. Just to know, like, it's they're actually, if you want to do something, it's the private sector. There's a great article on this. If anyone wants a resource to ever correct MAGA with it, because MAGA has no idea anything about our federal government, right?
None.
And there's an amazing analysis done by one of my favorite authors. It's called "If Trump Wants to Cut Government Workers, Look to the Private Sector," right? The most of our government are actual private sector workers who are contracted by the government. If we fired every full-time federal employee, I'm trying to remember what the percentage is, but it would not even put a dent. We would save no money. Like, it would be such a small percentage of the actual federal budget. It's a joke, right?
So we have some breaking news. So the House Ethics Report is out, and they did find evidence that Matt Gaetz paid thousands for sex and drugs, including paying a 17-year-old for sex in 2017. The House Ethics Committee found evidence that former Rep. Matt Gaetz paid tens of thousands of dollars to women for sex or drugs on at least 20 occasions, including paying a 17-year-old girl in 2017, according to a final draft of the panel's report on the Florida Republican obtained by CNN. The committee concluded in its bombshell document that Gaetz violated federal Florida state laws, including a state's statutory grape law, as the GOP-led panel chose to take the rare step of releasing a report about a former member who resigned from Congress. Quote, the committee determined there is substantial evidence that Representative Gaetz violated House rules and other standards of conduct prohibiting prostitution, statutory grape, illicit use of substances, impermissible gifts, special favors or privileges, and obstruction of Congress. The panel investigated transactions Gaetz personally made, often using PayPal or Venmo, to more than a dozen women during his time in Congress. According to the report, investigators also focused on a 2018 trip to the Bahamas, which they said, quote, violated the House gift rule, during which he engaged in activity with multiple women, including a minor, and one who described the trip in itself as the payment for sex on the trip. On the same trip, he also took a certain substance. One woman on the trip told the committee. That gentleman was chosen by Donald Trump to be the Attorney General of the United States. Thoughts, Felice?
Well, my initial thoughts are, and I'm sorry, someone kind of nailed in the comment that said we're surprised by this. I don't want to act like I'm surprised, because all of this has been out in the public domain. It's just Matt Gaetz was denying it, and we'd have never seen the federal investigation the FBI was doing, right? That's probably the missing piece, was how far did they go in their investigation? But yeah, once I heard those girls testified for the ethics committee, and not just those girls. If you watch CNN, they had a woman on who, it wasn't just the underage girls that testified. It's a woman who was there and said she saw it happen.
Yep.
She witnessed it. This was happening publicly at a party. It's disgusting. But that's the requirement, right? Like, fascism, one of the tenets of fascism is devaluing women, dehumanizing women, right? The subjugation of women. Like,
that's exactly right. I mean, every marginalized group, in particular women. But I think what's interesting about this is that I think it's quite obvious that Republicans in Congress despised Matt Gaetz. Initially, they attempt to provide cover by not releasing this report. We've all known, but up until now, it was a smoking gun, so to speak. There was no direct evidence. We all made assumptions. We all believe in the rule of law, investigate crimes, but where there's smoke, there's fire. Now we have the evidence. We have the paper trail. What was his friend, Joel Greenberg, right?
I was going to say, Joel Greenberg testified against him. Joel Greenberg has incriminated. I didn't think, I wasn't making it up out of thin air. Like, Joel Greenberg is in jail. Like, Joel Greenberg is the Michael Cohen of the Stormy Daniels case. You know how Michael Cohen went to jail for Donald Trump, and Trump was named as unindicted co-conspirator one because he was a president, so he couldn't be held accountable. Right, that's Joel Greenberg is Matt Gaetz's Michael Cohen, right? That's essentially who he is. He's in jail for 13 years for what Matt Gaetz did. I mean, don't get me wrong; they were both doing fraud. And by the way, the reason Matt Gaetz largely was caught is because he did not privatize, he didn't private his Venmo payment. So he's doing all this, and it was public.
We'll get more into that. As a reminder, the ethics report is out. I'll probably be reading it later today.
I'm gonna read it.
Yeah. And there's evidence of what all the. I mean, now there's the paper trail. We've always known about the Venmo and PayPal payments. And just as a reminder, Donald Trump just appointed the former co-founder of PayPal to be the ambassador to Denmark so that he can be part of the negotiations to buy back fucking Greenland because we don't have anything else important to do. Anyway, on our so we'll be on.
Wait, can I read you these stats? Like
Please
before,
do.
and
Yes,
yeah,
go
I
for
was
it.
talking
Yes.
about how actually when you hear them talking about Doge and how there's so much government waste and we need to fire all the bureaucracy, like he read the tweet from Elon Musk, cut out the middlemen. I just
Right.
want to be clear. That is a misnomer and a lie. I just want to read some stats again. The number of people who get paid from the U.S. Treasury but work for private businesses and nonprofits is now more than 3 times as large as the entire on payroll federal civilian workforce. Now, listen to this. So remember, you hear them saying, just know the reason they're firing the civil service is just to make sure that Donald Trump has people that are only loyal to him. When they say it's about saving money and that there's all this government waste, that's not true. Listen to this. If we fire every single federal employee for eliminating the entire on payroll federal workforce would reduce total federal spending by less than 5%.
Yep.
I mean, so I just want to be clear. It's actually government contracted people from the private sector that are 3 times as large, right? And there is a lot of government waste. That part is true, but it's in the military. And I was going to point this out to you. Now, remember, I don't know if you guys remember a week or so ago, there was actually another big bill that was passing the House and the Senate, but you never heard anything about it. It's called we have to pass it every year. It's the largest spending bill. What are the largest spending bills? It's called the National Defense Authorization Act. It's all the military spending, all the waste. I always like to say we spend $34 million on Viagra, a year in the military. I mean, there's so much waste in the military. But did you hear Elon Musk tweeting at 4 a.m. to cancel that because of waste and to comb through it? No, because why? All of these billionaires have military they are benefiting from the American military complex.
Exactly.
That's why.
And just recently, and this is on that thread. Just recently, Elon has gone out publicly saying that he asks if the IRS should be deleted. Okay, so the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, he asks if it should be deleted. Gee, I wonder why. That's because in the Inflation Reduction Act, passed under the Biden administration, thank you, Joe and Kamala, the IRS has recovered $4.7 billion from tax cheats, including, here's the number, IRS has now recovered $4.7 billion from new initiatives underway, all part of the Inflation Reduction Act. This includes $1.3 billion from high-income, high-wealth individuals who've not paid overdue tax debt or filed tax returns, $2.9 billion related to the IRS criminal investigation work into tax fraud and financial crimes, including trafficking of illicit substances, cybercrime, T-risk financing, and another $475 million in proceeds from criminal and civil cases attributable to whistleblower information. So again, Elon Musk wants to delete the IRS. Meanwhile, under the Inflation Reduction Act passed by the Biden-Harris administration, $4.7 billion have been recovered from tax cheats. Gee, Felice, you see any coincidences there that Elon would want the IRS to go away?
Oh, no, I completely validate what you're saying. And in addition to that, like, just remember during the last midterms, all you heard Trump saying is they want to go after single moms and tax them more and audit them and steal money from poor people. It was never about that, right? Biden, like I'll say, the one thing Biden failed at was driving the real narrative of what was going on. What we wanted to do at the IRS, right? Now, and let me just show you how MAGA constantly shoots themselves in the foot, right? By having no idea what's actually going on. For every dollar we invest into the IRS, we get $5 back. There's no better ROI in the government than that. And what we were doing was we were hiring high-level forensic accountants that can do high-level forensic audits, right? That can track this thing called basis shifting, where all billionaires are hiding their money, right? And valuing or writing off assets more than once. And that's what this was about, was high level forensic audits and then having IRS agents to go and actually levy that money and make sure the revenue comes into us, which would have taken the burden off the middle and lower class.
Correct. $4.7 billion, and that's just since the Inflation Reduction Act has been passed, right? So that again, as a reminder, that is something that the Trump campaign, now the Musk administration, has talked about repealing the Inflation Reduction Act, and it's not a coincidence that you've got a cabinet stacked with billionaires sprinkled throughout the government, billionaires part of writing policy to benefit billionaires. Of course, they don't want the IRS going after them, so they can continue to take advantage of the tax code, right? So this is just another example of how the billionaire class has us all under the string. We're all sitting in the high chair when we have the Musk administration and the feckless person that was actually elected in charge of these kinds of things. So MAGA, as a reminder, right? The lie that you've been told, and Felice just did a really good job breaking it down. You were told that they were going to go after you. They don't give a shit about us. They really don't. They don't.
Do you know why?
About the tax cheats.
Because for accountants make enough money that actually for people that don't make enough, like aren't making enough revenue, it's not worth it. The accountants, they have to pay more to the accountants to audit people like us. It's not even worth it, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So I want to play. So again, what I witnessed last week, and we'll go back and we'll talk about the box is open. We really like to talk to our friends on the right, because
there's so many people in the comments. There's so MAGA. You're in the comments saying a bunch of incorrect things. Why don't you come up here and have a conversation about it? Say it with, you know what I mean? I see a lot of MAGA just saying things.
I know. Actually, we have a request in the box, so I'll bring up user. What should we call you, sir? What should we call you?
John.
Okay, John. So how are you today?
Good.
Got all your Christmas shopping done?
Yes.
Okay, what's on your mind?
Oh, what are you guys gonna do when they take away TikTok?
Well, we'll see if that happens. Do you think it's going to happen? I mean, you're on TikTok now, so do you think it's going to happen?
So.
Why?
Because you guys are here every day, and hating Trump is not a policy.
So, John, do you have something that you'd like to contribute to the conversation?
We are actually talking about facts and numbers, not hating Trump. That's what you brought up.
You should support your president,
just like you supported just like you supported Joe Biden.
Yeah, I supported Joe Biden.
You did? You did?
Yeah.
You never said anything disparaging about him?
No.
So so did you vote for Elon Musk?
Don't you want America to prosper?
Yeah, but do you think billionaires are looking out for us?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Yeah, well, Elon Musk is not corrupt. He doesn't have 100 million like Nancy Pelosi.
No, he's got 400 billion.
Exactly.
He's got much more than that.
Yeah, and he made it the honest way. He
didn't. He's made 200 billion just since the election.
He didn't stock market manipulate.
No. Okay, let me help you out here. Let me help you out. You can look up the 2023 Unusual Wells report. That's an actual report of people in Congress outperforming the stock market, right? And it's very fishy. I agree with you. However, if you have a problem, like I 100% have a problem with people in Congress placing trades in the stock market, right? That's a progressive issue. Republicans don't want to do anything about that, right? If you join us on the left to stop Congress from legally placing trades in the stock market, they are not currently doing anything. Wait, can I finish my statement? Because I want to help you. I want to help you understand, because you're very confused. And if you look at the Unusual Whales report, Nancy Pelosi is making a pittance compared to Republicans in the Senate, or this one guy named Brian Higgins. Like, you just heard that, right? You just read memes. And so you guys always repeat Nancy Pelosi. She is the least of our problems of Congress outperforming the stock market.
Yeah, if I joined you guys, right?
What do you mean joined us?
Do I have to wear a dress?
I told him to join us, and if he cares about getting stopping Congress from making stock trades, because it's a progressive issue.
So John, are we now going to see your transphobia?
Yeah, I got to wear.
John, how about this, John? Let's start from scratch. What did you have for breakfast today? Yeah, nobody fucking cares.
I know that was T's profile pic too. I saw that. It was so super. Weird. John's super creepy. Like, please don't project your weirdness onto us, John.
Yeah, thanks, John. Appreciate you, Boo Boo. So I want to play some. You know who Steve Schmidt is. He did this. I mean, I think what we witnessed last week, and everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. Felice's pay apps are above her head. Just as a reminder, in my link tree in the merch store, you'll find a shirt that has the quote, "The sounds of children screaming have been removed." That's a fundraiser for our friend Brett and Nikki Cross. Their son Uzziah was taken in the Robb Elementary firearms unaliving event on May 24th of 2022. All proceeds from the profits will go to that. Currently, we have $882.09 raised. So if we can sell another 10 to 15 shirts, that'll put us over $1,000. So thank you all very, very much. And that link is in the link tree in my bio in the merch store. So former Republican political operative Steve Schmidt open is that Donald Trump, which is why Mike Johnson is on a text group chat sharing recipes and, sharing cat memes and talking about how the oligarchs can continue to take over our government. That's disturbing to hear that, right? That is disturbing. But that's where we are, right? So again, the box is open. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, for just for MAGA in the chat, I keep seeing everyone saying we're whining. Like I can show you data. We can talk about statistical analysis that proves, right, the Republican or let's say conservative economic policy has robbed you, right? You guys think that brown people sneaking into the country have stolen your money. It's absolutely not true. I was doing a statistical analysis of wealth distribution, right? From 1980, to 2024. Was doing another one from 1980 to 2020. And we can talk about those numbers, how there is no trickle down that we have been stolen from. We can track it month over month, quarter over quarter, the wealth being concentrated at the top of the economy. I'm talking about facts.
Correct. Mark S. Taylor, I just sent you an invite, Mark. Can you come up? Because I just think you're a little bit confused by some things. And maybe you can represent MAGA today for our conversations.
We're almost to 100K, guys. Keep tapping the screen. This is Cash App and Venmo. If you would like to tip us, we'll read whatever you write in the comments. Out loud question, comment, concern, dad joke, Christmas joke, whatever the case may be. And we so appreciate your support. Thank you guys so much for the gift.
Do you have any Christmas traditions that are unique, Felice?
That's I'm one of the people that doesn't really do well during the holidays. I don't really celebrate the holidays. I just rest, right? Like I'm just looking forward to curling up with some edibles and reading a book.
There you go. Make your
Mary,
own
that is the best Christmas I can have.
Make your own traditions. Okay. So I'll bring up Andy. Andy's loyal to the family. So again, box is open, guys. We want to have this conversation, but MAGA, you guys are chirping like crazy from the chat. Good morning, Andy.
How are you guys? And
Excellent.
Happy holidays.
Same to you. What's on your mind today?
All right. So I've just been listening in on what you and Felice have been sharing, and it's pretty much like the worst case scenario as like anybody could really imagine that is on the left that has been screaming this for years and years on end of just like the oligarchy. And this is absolutely oligarchy. And, the way that I see it playing out, and, feel free to just correct me if I'm wrong. If Musk is like really just pulling the strings, then I see this administration not lasting long, well into the midterms, because I feel like MAGA is just a party that eats their own. And if one has dirt on the other, then I just foresee that party just blowing themselves up to bits.
Well, I think the Republican Party doesn't exist. It's the influence of MAGA and the oligarchs. I think what you're seeing though now is moderate Republicans. So even the reason that we know names like Nancy Mace and MTG on the right, and AOC and Jared Moskowitz and Jasmine Crockett on the left is because they're the ones that garner the headlines. Legislation, it's the people in the middle. It's the moderates on both sides, moderate Republicans, moderate Democrats. Yes, they do still exist. We just don't know who they are because they don't ask for the highlights. They don't ask for the spotlight. They're the ones that are doing the work. The problem is the MAGA Freedom Caucus in particular has such power because there's such a narrow majority. They get to control the agenda. What we saw last week, though, was members of that party, that the Freedom Caucus, saying this is bullshit. This is they're done, because they go back to their districts and they talk about fiscal conservatism. They talk about they don't want all the waste in government. They get high and mighty on Doge, but then they want to raise the debt limit another $5 trillion so they can roll out another tax cut. So the House is, long story short, the House, literally and figuratively, is crumbling around them, proving once again they cannot legislate. They want to be the party in the minority so they can be chaos agents, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. And this is also one of the other things that you guys mentioned earlier this morning, like the Amazon strikes and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos having dinner together. I think another thing that's going to attribute to just something later on that I hope doesn't happen, and it doesn't get violent. But this was actually a topic of what you had talked about, Steve, a few weeks back in the live that I was on here. What Luigi Mangione did to unalive the United Healthcare CEO, will it spark a revolution?
Right.
But I think along with that, along with the wealth disparity, that's going to increase under the incoming Trump administration. That's like a hair away from pitchforks and knives being coming about and just sparking another revolution in that regard. Because I don't think anybody in their right mind, and MAGA may not see it, but they're certainly going to feel it within the next 4 years, that it's going to spark a revolution because of the whole wealth disparity. And they'll realize too little too late that the billionaires that are put in this administration do not have the working class people's best interests at heart. Not for me, not for you, and certainly not for anybody else that's in this chat.
Yeah, I mean, and Steve Schmidt just called that out. You're right, Andy. I mean, the fact that we've said this before, it may take the entire system to crumble and for everybody to feel pain. My concern is that people that are already at the bottom, in particular marginalized groups, are the ones that are going to feel it the hardest. But let's keep in mind that some people in those marginalized groups also voted for this. So they're going to have to feel the pain. And Steve Schmidt called it out very, very well. And I hope that we can take Hakeem Jeffries to his word, because on January 3rd, the process begins to elect a new speaker. And he's made it clear that they're not going to save Mike Johnson. So they're on their own. They're going to have to navigate through this. And because the fracturing, and then we know had that story about Kay Granger, the rep from Texas, who disappeared, and come to find out she's being treated in a facility that supports dementia. So she's been absent, and literally an active member, a serving member of Congress, has been in this facility in Texas who treats people with dementia. So
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not.
No,
That came out
it's
over the
real.
weekend. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. So then now
For
we
months.
have a minority or majority that's even getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So they're going to have to prove that they can govern. And as we've been saying, and you brought it up very well, Andy, we talk about the revolution. And that's why I think this workers' strike, again, Jeff Bezos worth $250 billion, makes $28,000 a day, and his work, or an hour, I'm sorry. And then his workers' starting salary for some logistics jobs is $28,000 annually.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
Listen
I hope
to
so.
wait, can I say, I want to just comment on the union stuff, because I was doing a statistical analysis of union versus non-union workers, and it's fascinating, right? Like injury rates per 100 workers for union workplaces, 3.1, non-union workplaces, 4.7, 34% lower injury rate, just in injuries. Safety violation reporting, you're allowed to report safety, 78% for union, non-union, 38%. Resolution rate of reported violations, if you're a union, 89%. Non-union, 54%. Job security metrics, layoff rates for union, 2.2%. Layoff rates for non-union workers, 4.1%. Wrongful termination, union have actual formal grievance procedures like 100% of the time. Non-union workers with formal grievance procedure, 14.5%. Successful resolution rate of disputes, union 74%, non-union 31%. Training skills and development on the job, union, they get 68% are given access to employer provided training. Non-union 38%. Like it goes on and on and on and on. And billionaires surrounding Trump, including Trump. Remember pre-election, he was sitting in a Twitter Spaces for hours with Elon Musk, praising Elon Musk for being a union buster, for not allowing workers to organize. And that's the cognitive dissonance we need to talk to MAGA about. Hey, you're a blue collar worker. How do you reconcile this? That your role models, the people you idolize, are disenfranchising you, are making sure you are paid less, that you have no upward mobility in your job, that you don't have on the job training, that you can't report and mediate workplace accidents, that you're in a statistically more unsafe environment, right? That you are making less in wages, right? That you have fewer
You guys keep
benefits.
talking, I'll be right back.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the question we need, or that's the conversation I think we need to have with MAGA. But the answer is, cognitive dissonance. Because if you can't admit the truth, that billionaires are harming you. The data is there. You are being harmed by Elon Musk. You are being harmed by Jeff Bezos.
No, yeah, absolutely. And one more thing that I do want to add on to that, police, because I was part of a union. Like I was a contract. I was like, I was a painter for just like a small painting company, and this was just part of a union because we had contracts in different places. Now, most of the people that I worked with were conservative at the time, but I always learned that unions aren't just about getting more money. All right. It's about fairness. And to what you brought up, Felice, like that's the numbers that just MAGA will refuse to see. I hope that they can de radicalize themselves to actually see those numbers because one thing you can say is, oh, yeah, this person lies. But guess what doesn't lie? Numbers and facts. And that is just the God honest truth. So, to everybody that's MAGA in the chat, just keep in mind unions are not just about trying to get money. Like, ideally, everybody should be making a livable wage. But unions, at the end of the day, are about fairness, making sure that if something happens to us on the job, that we're covered, that we have decent health insurance, dental, just health insurance for almost everybody if we have a family, or just for ourselves if we're by ourselves. So to say that, the union busters that are the billionaires of the incoming administration, they think they're going to decide what's best for you. Trust me when I tell you, they're not. And Felice just hit every nail on the head with the numbers.
Yeah, and I want to just read the conclusions, and this is in my Discord. This statistical analysis I did, it's in the Discord if you want to look at this information. But the conclusions of this are: one, high union workers experience higher wages across all demographic groups, more comprehensive benefits package, greater workplace safety, enhanced job security, better access to training and career development, and more stable income and long-term economic security.
Yep.
And this is data. These aren't my feelings. This is a statistical analysis.
So keep in mind, Andy, thanks for jumping in today, friend. Appreciate you as always. You have a good day.
Yeah, thank you guys, and happy
later.
holidays.
Nice to meet you, Andy.
So one of the tenets of fascism, we've talked about
Oopsies.
this, is that union power is suppressed while corporate cronyism is highlighted and promoted. So we're seeing that, obviously. So the National Labor Relations Board is an agency within our government that does protect the rights of workers. And the influence now that the Trump administration will have over that board, quite frankly, because I think the Biden administration dropped the ball during this transition period, during the lame duck period, to protect that particular group from.
No,
I think
they didn't drop the ball. Kirsten Sinema, my senator from Arizona, on her way out, shat
Yes.
on us.
I guess my point is that I think they waited too long.
Right? Just so you know, Kirsten Sinema, the one that went independent, was a Democrat, turned independent, works for Case, will soon be a lobbyist on K Street, I'm assuming, based on the wealth she has amassed. She voted against confirming a Democrat on the Labor Relations Board. We could have controlled it for 2 more years.
Yeah, I guess what I meant was they waited too long. That was my point. They knew this was coming. They should have done something sooner. Anyway, that's an example of how labor rights will not be protected.
And Joe Manchin. That is true. That's fair.
Yeah, exactly. And Joe, who, by the way, there's somebody on TikTok who apparently had a relationship with Mr. Manchin. She didn't want to go public with his name. Yeah.
What? When? What? I don't
know, right? He used to go by 24. She said, the only thing I'll tell you is he used to go by 24, which I think that is a name that I think his boat's name 24, something like that. But, he likes to fish a lot, but I'm not going to give his name.
Is he married?
And yes. And then the sleuths of the internet have kind of narrowed it down to being potentially Joe Manchin, which a lot of people are thinking that's one of the reasons why he decided to resign from Congress. So anyway.
Wait, so is she showing her face? I just didn't know anything about this. So just let me ask. Is she showing her face?
She is. Yeah. She's showing her face, but she didn't name names. I'll find it and send it to you. But again, this is what we're talking about. So when you guys have, the whole cry wolf movement, the problem is that messaging against the right for years has been talking about calling everybody fascist, calling with their fascistic tendencies. Well, we're here. So now you're like, yeah, we've heard it before. But again, one of the tenets of fascism is suppressing labor movements in support of cronyism. in support of corporations and cronyism, the wealthy, and we're seeing it on full display. The union,
Scary.
yeah, the organizers who want to be unionized in Amazon, it's a losing fight. It is a losing fight for them. Let's be real. It's very unlikely that they're going to bend very much. It's very unlikely. But this is the problem, right? When we've got all these things you just talked about, the reason that we have some of the protections we have in the workplace are because of unions.
Oh, absolutely.
40-hour work weeks, things like you were talking about, right?
It all was born of unions. Yes.
Yeah.
And the courage of workers to stand up, even though they're going to be fired, right? Even, or face retribution, and to fight. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So again, back to the whole mess that we're in and what we saw last week. So, and just as a reminder, and Felice and I went over this on the People's Receipts on Friday, which, by the way, is a fabulous show. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. 11:30 Pacific, 2:30 Eastern. It's awesome. I basically just show a lot of receipts of what's going on in politics, and the constant stream of lies and hypocrisy.
Yeah, we were talking. We went through the iterations that the games that they were playing, the last minute deals, wanting to raise the debt limit, which I think is interesting, since it's only convenient when the party who will soon be in power want to continue to spend recklessly and hand out more tax breaks for their donor class, at the expense of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, funding for children's cancer research, things like that. So Republicans in Congress stood up and said, no, we're done with this bullshit. So that's a loss. That's a big loss for the Trump administration. They'll try it again.
38, 34. Yeah. Just to be clear, the first vote, or the second vote, actually. Well, they killed the first bill. 38 Republicans stood up to Trump the first time, and 34 held strong in the House and still were like, no. Because imagine being gaslit. Imagine hearing we're doing the Department of Government Efficiency, and this is to cut waste. And then at the same time being gaslit by two unelected billionaires, which, by the way, I thought Vivek only had hundreds of millions of dollars. I've recently educated him. He's now valued by Forbes to have $1 billion. So just... Yeah. So I didn't know that. But imagine being gaslit and told, hey, we're going to cut waste. And then being told at the final hour, hey, add $5 trillion to the debt. We're going to need you guys to just tack on $5 trillion. And the few real conservatives in the House are going, hey, because if you don't understand what the debt ceiling argument is about when we have to raise it, they're saying we will not raise the debt ceiling without significant cuts to the budget. We need to offset the fact that we are adding on $5 trillion in debt. That's what Republicans are about. The real ones. And Trump's just like, add $5 trillion, and then to be gaslit, them saying the first bill was 1,500 pages. This one's only 120, but the 120 page one has $5 trillion in debt.
Right. And what was the odd? You shared this last week about how someone who supports that, some elected Republican in Congress who supports that, said, we should just test it. Let's just see.
McCormick.
Yeah, that's right. McCormick.
Yeah, he's like, it'll be a great test, because if we burn through $5 trillion in 2 years, then we know. And it's like, am I in a nightmare?
No, we're just in a reality show. That's all it is.
Hi, AD. Good morning.
Good morning, friends. Good morning, Felice. Isn't it a lovely day?
Morning. The best day. Guys, keep tapping the screen. Let's get to 150K for facts.
Yes,
the
I
absolute
literally came up
best.
here just to say that. Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you were a mod. I'm just
It's okay, my
I'm so
love.
sorry.
It's okay. Hey, friends. Yes, I am here to say, please use your fingers for good this happy everything season. Happy everything to everyone. And I'm so grateful to be here to tell you all to use your fingers for good and tap that screen. And let's get to the FYP.
That could mean a lot of things, Amy.
I'm open to everything.
You're good.
Felice,
We don't
at this
judge.
point. Hey now. Facts in the morning.
Use your fingers for good.
Use your fingers for good. That's always the best advice, right, Felice? Yeah. Tap that heart too, because you love this information. For nothing else, tap it for Felice's incredible free labor that she gives all of us in her education and
Seriously.
sources. It is Olympic level and she is underappreciated in many ways, I believe. And I'm so grateful that you give all of the effort that you do to educate us all, Felice, and you too, Steve. But Felice is Olympic level. We can all agree.
We totally agree.
You too,
Absolutely.
Steve.
Hit that share down at the bottom there. You can hit copy link, or you can share it with your friends or your frenemies or anyone, literally anyone, because we all need to hear this information, because a idiot electorate is just going to have idiot everything. So we don't want that. We want to be well informed, and this is important. Also, come join our Discord if you haven't. Felice has a Discord as well. So join both of them. Stay up when everyone goes live. Felice goes live on YouTube. Steve, we're live on, I think, are we live on YouTube today? I don't even know.
We are.
Excellent. Like we want to make sure we still have our voices and we still are around to say what we need to say, so we stay educated. So if this app does go away, which who knows, right? We want to have a backup. So join our Discord to stay updated with everything we have going on. Plus, we have a lot of fun over there, and there's discounts in the merch store, because you know that merch. Not to mention, I believe, what's our tally so far on what we raised for Brett just on T-shirts? Wasn't it over $1,000?
$882.09 so far.
Nice.
That's the exact math.
That's amazing. So if y'all want to go purchase the T-shirt that Fax was talking about, or any other merch in there, it's some really good stuff. I especially enjoy the pillowcase. Wink, wink. If you're a fan of Uncle Rusty, you'll enjoy that. So yeah, love you all, and thanks for doing this hard work, and I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Happy
See you
everything.
later.
Bye.
Just a thank you to Sam. Love the sweater today. Thank you. Facts and Police on Mondays is the best way to start the week. Agreed. Yeah. Thank you, Joyce, as well. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, too. Thank you very much.
Check my email. Yeah, and I was going to say a couple of things. Someone said, oh, yeah, let me read these. Swish. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas. Appreciate you so much. Appreciate you as well. Love a Tumblr. I'm not saying that ironically. I'm obsessed with Tumblrs. I have like 50. I have a problem. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Joyce. Merry Christmas to you too. Thank you so much for the tip. Here's what I wanted. Can I tell everyone about Steven Feinberg really quick?
Please do. Yes.
Well, and I'm just going to say this briefly because I don't think people understand like how corrupt. And I'm just going to tell you just some facts. I'm not drawing any conclusions. And this is in today's outline in the Discord if you want and I'll tell you guys the article name. So you like, I'm not making, this is going to sound like I'm making it up, but I'm not. So Trump just finally announced, right? And here, let me pull it up. It's number 11 it's Trump picks billionaire financier for Deputy Defense Secretary. And what's Deputy Defense Secretary? This would be the number 2 at the Pentagon. So this is the man overseeing the military operations and everything behind credibly accused of rape, and also possibly having an issue with,
other things.
Pete Hegseth. And his name's Steve Feinberg. This is a man, and this is not a joke. I just want to make this connection because when I heard his name and I heard that's what his job was, like, oh my God. So do you guys remember the journalist Jamal Khashoggi? He's no longer with us because he entered an embassy in Turkey and was disappeared, and then they found pieces of him.
Literal pieces.
And I'm not saying that ironically, literal pieces. And then it turned out that was later attributed back to Mohammed bin, the Saudis.
That's right.
Well, just to give you an idea of who Steve Feinberg truly is. And remember when that Jamal Khashoggi stuff happened, Trump was getting all these deals from the Saudis and billions of dollars were going to Jared Kushner. In addition, I don't know if you know this, people don't know when I go on a rant about Trump's Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin, it's not just Jared Kushner that started a fund after the Trump administration. Steve Mnuchin started a fund as well. The Trump Treasury Secretary, who was largely funded by the same fund that funded Jared Kushner. So
nothing to
yeah.
say.
So, and the Saudis were enriching everyone in the Trump administration. That journalist was unalived and ended up in pieces. I mean, no one's saying there's a connection, but I will tell you that those people that did it, the Saudis, they were trained by a private security firm owned by Cerberus Capital. Who's in charge? Who was in charge of Cerberus Capital when they were training those people to do things like that? Steven Feinberg. And if you want to look up Saudi operatives who unalived Khashoggi received paramilitary training in the U.S., that's a New York Times article. And it mentions Cerberus Capital, who is the parent company of the Arkansas-based security company Tier 1 Group, which is owned by the private equity firm Cerberus Capital Management. The company says the training included safe marksmanship and countering an attack. I mean, this is how they learned to do what they did to Jamal Khashoggi, right? There was there's no evidence that the American officials who approved the training or Tier 1 Group executives knew that the Saudis were involved in that or were going to be involved in that crackdown inside Saudi Arabia. If you don't remember, basically what was happening was they were, MBS was pissed that journalists were reporting on doing their job and he was going to make an example out of someone. And just so you know, Cerberus Capital, who, is the parent company of Tier 1 Group, who trained those people that did that to Jamal Khashoggi, Steven Feinberg was running that show. And now he's going to be the number 2 at the Pentagon. As long as we're talking about the Musk administration and he's a billionaire, I just want to introduce you. And that's why when we're passing the biggest piece of pork our government has, the National Defense Authorization Act, you did not hear a word out of these people. Not one word, because they're all benefiting from military contracts and military largesse.
So Willow Y, I would like to address your Willow YY. I'd like to address your comment. Okay, and I'm you might want to sit down for this, friend, because your comment is this. So Musk gives Trump money and you're all mad. How about Soros? Where's your outrage there? Felice, would you like to inform our friend Willow YY who Trump's pick to be this Treasury Secretary is and what his background is? I can if you'd like, but feel free.
Mnuchin?
No. Scott Bessent.
Oh, the new one? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Steve Mnuchin was the last Treasury Secretary who he now has a fund funded by the Saudis. But
Right.
Bessent learned everything he knows at the feet of George Soros.
Wait for it, Willow YY. Wait for it. He literally is George Soros's protege, my guy.
Truly.
So
not a joke.
facts are hard. Thank you, Felice. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no, and then when he left George Soros, his fund started failing miserably.
Yeah. So we talked about, again, everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. Felice's pay apps are above her head. There's a gifting goal today. Hey, please help us stay on the FYP, guys. It's really, really important. So,
and just in fairness, and Cerberus Capital started training, the Saudi agents during the Obama administration, and into Trump's. But I'm just saying that's who Steven Feinberg is.
Yeah. So we talk about the deep state and we talk
Pentagon
about
contracts.
Nepotism in politics. We can have that conversation all day long, but I just want to remind Mag of a few things, because again, we talk about the deep state, right? That the term that you guys love to share, but you don't even know what it means. So I'm just going to give you some names. I'm going to give you some potential positions and then relationships. Lara Trump, Florida Senate contender. She has since removed her name from contention. Obviously, Trump's daughter-in-law. Mossad Boulos, senior advisor on Arab and Middle Eastern affairs, Tiffany Trump's father-in-law. Charles Kushner, ambassador to France, Ivanka Trump's father-in-law, pardoned felon, by the way. Adam Bowler, special envoy for hostage affairs, Jared Kushner's college roommate. Kimberly Guilfoyle, ambassador to Greece, Trump Jr.'s ex-fiancée. Dr. Janet Neshawait, Surgeon General, Trump's NSA pic's sister-in-law. Leah Francis Campos, ambassador to the Dominican Republic, Trump transportation pic's sister-in-law. Chad Cronister, DEA administrator, has since withdrawn, son-in-law of Trump pardon recipient. So again, the complaining from the right forever, not the right because they knew what was going on, MAGA voters in particular, about the deep state, about corruption in politics. Every other word was George Soros. Now, most of you didn't know that Scott Bessent literally is George Soros's prize pupil. His protege is the hand-picked Treasury Secretary within the Musk administration. Where's your outrage? That's what I want to know. Where's your outrage?
Now, why can't you follow the line of logic? Because I agree, there's corruption, right? We can see the corruption, right? And think about it. I just want you to pick. If I told you that Biden had appointed a bunch of people to his cabinet who were billionaires, who had military contracts, right? Who had conflicts of interest all over the board, we would never hear the end of it. Why can't you hold Donald Trump accountable for the same things? Why?
Willow, why? Two different people? Who? Scott Bessent is two different people? No, he's
don't
the
get me
Treasury
started on that.
Secretary.
Who said that? Wait.
He's the hand-picked choice of Donald within the Musk administration to be the Treasury Secretary, and he is George Soros's protege.
You can
I
just
don't know.
do basic Google search and find that out. Like that's
Yeah.
not something hard to do. Bunny made a great comment, and I'm going to talk about this on the People's Receipts today. That's the other thing. Like, right, this is about Trump enriching himself, forming an oligarchy, but also returning favors. That's the other one. Mark Burnett. Did you see that?
That was next. Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, the apprentice man is now, what is he going to be the ambassador of or special envoy? What was his job? It's in the outline. It's right. Hold on.
I got it right here. So I'm hearing the.
Here we go.
Yeah.
He's the special envoy to the UK.
Yeah, and think about this for a second.
This is the guy that owns the footage.
Exactly. So the footage that we're referring to is there is apparently Trump. There's audio of Trump, audio tape or videotape during The Apprentice when it was filming. Mark Burnett was the former producer.
Season one,
exactly, where Trump said the N-word because he didn't want a black man to win the Apprentice. No way in hell I'm going to let an N-word win.
Remember Kwame?
Correct.
First season one.
Mark Burnett is the producer of that show. So don't you think it's interesting that Mark Burnett now gets a prominent position in the cabinet? Wow, I wonder why that is. Interesting, right?
It's just interesting stuff. No one's saying anything. Like, I'm just saying, the people that trained the Saudis that ended up hurting Jamal Khashoggi, that is a private firm that's owned by Service Management, right? I'm just saying, I'm not accusing anyone of everything. I'm just saying that Mark Burnett is a special envoy to the UK who was the executive producer and, was overseeing that footage of what many people have said exists, that tape that many people have said exists. I recognize you, Justice.
Hi, Justice. How are you today?
Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah. Sorry, can you? Oh, okay. First of all, hey, Felice, how you doing?
Good.
Great. Because I know you guys were talking
Hi,
to.
Justice.
Sorry, Fax, I didn't hear you. I apologize.
I'm just kidding. It's all good.
I
What's on your
apologize.
mind, man?
I actually requested when you guys started talking about George Soros because I wanted to mention it's like, yeah, one of his proteges is literally working for Trump now. So what's the problem? Like, I don't think they understand that we don't like Soros. He's a billionaire.
Right.
So it's like, people on the left don't like billionaires. I don't understand why they don't get that.
Amassing that amount of wealth is a crime against the people, right? When you are concentrating wealth at the top of the economy and it's not recirculating, that is a crime against us. That's what I spent the morning doing, looking at statistical analysis of wealth and income distribution from around 1980 to 2024. It's sick. It will sicken you. And I put the analyses in the Discord, or Chrissy did because she's the best. So, but yeah, I mean.
So there. Thank you, Justice. I appreciate you being here, friend.
No problem.
You got it. Have a good day. Have a good holiday.
You too.
So Bernie, I'm not sure if you saw this, Felice, but last week he came out with a tax proposal that Bernie Sanders proposes taxing income over $1 billion at 100%. So, and again,
No one needs more than $1 billion. Like, this is crazy town.
Again, Bernie's been very consistent on this. He's not changed his tune. Medicare for all used to be considered extreme. Now is a foundational ask by the majority of Americans who believe that we should have insurance at a bare minimum, right? So literally, again, saying it out loud. This is why this is why we need more elected progressives. This is why we need to be moving older, not to be ageist in any way, but we need to start moving people that are in their 70s out of Congress. We can have that conversation about term limits. I realize term limits are elections, but let's be real. Again, every dollar over $1 billion gets taxed at 100%. So there you go.
Which is a great idea. And to everyone that said, like, I was, it's not true that I love what they're like, if we tax billionaires, they'll leave. That's not true. The strongest the US economy has ever been was when the top marginal tax rates were, around 90%, right? And the common misconception I always hear on Fox News is you're going to tax them at 90%. No, just the top percentage of their income when it reaches that bracket, right? Like what Bernie's saying is, hey, once you make over $1 billion, right, then we tax you at 1%. You can make that
100%.
billion.
Yeah, we're taking it
but
off.
Then anything above $1 billion in a year, like
Yep.
Elon Musk, right? Well, I mean, that's probably unrealized capital gains, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about in a year, everything over $1 billion is taxed at 100%. It's not their entire, all their earnings.
Yeah, so the right, you've been convinced, and first of all, the question I want to ask, and I've yet to get anybody to answer this question, like, what is the deep state? Like what is it? Like, we can all formulate our opinions as to what it is, but from what you guys have been told, the deep state are unelected bureaucrats. The deep state are apparently woke generals and woke Democrats in the U.S. military. Apparently, the deep state are career civil servants who do their job to keep the government running. But billionaires in cabinet positions are not the deep state. Nepotism is not the deep state.
Wake up.
People who've turned the other cheek, so to speak, are not the deep state. Favors being called in, that's not the deep state. I found this great quote. This is from the 1990s. I'll attribute this to a person named Allison Rennie. If you voted Republican because you fear socialism, then live your truth. Do not accept Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. Avoid public beaches, parks, and libraries. Do not allow your children to attend tax-supported schools or to take advantage of food programs. Drive only on toll roads. Do not call 911 unless you intend to pay for services rendered. So...
No, I think that's a great idea. And I think what's most important, and Willow, you're welcome to request and come up here at any point. We can have a civil, productive conversation. But I think everyone should know that even if, and I'll say this, I see MAGA, you're super loyal, right? I know you see it as like, this is my team, go down with the ship. It doesn't, while you're loyal, while you're saying, hey, I'm on this team and I'm going to remain loyal and they'll do the right thing by me, they're not. I could show you the data. The Republican Party has not done the right thing by the middle class in modern history. The wealth inequality continues to grow. So you being blindly loyal while the country is burning down is not helping. And you think, oh, he'll punish the left, but not me. You are being punished in real time. You are being robbed by the donor class, just like we are. We are all in the same boat. You think you are enjoying some sort of privilege in society while you delusionally think that you are being robbed.
Do you think this is a biblical moment where you're going to put the lamb's blood on the doorway during Passover and
the angel of death's going to pass over,
Exactly.
pass over the homes with the lamb's blood in Egypt. Yeah, I mean, you are being robbed in real time, and like I keep saying, unfortunately, it's not brown people who have your money; it is the billionaires.
Yeah, it's the constant, like we've talked about this many, many times, is the constant punching down. So the problem is because you voted for this lie. I'm going to play some audio for you because I think it's really, really important. Well, before I do that, when for those of us on the left who do demand preservation of human rights, who do prioritize women's rights of the BIPOC community, indigenous rights, all those marginalized groups, LGBTQIA, everybody, the infirmed, people who are living in poverty, you voted for the degradation of those rights without even realizing it, because you bought into a reality, in your reality, that it's, to Felice's point, that it is brown skinned people, that it is the LGBTQIA community that were the threats. So a byproduct of that would be if a 16-year-old wanted to adopt a child, the government wouldn't allow it. They would say she's not old enough or responsible enough. She isn't done with her education. She can't financially support herself, and she isn't a legal adult. But if she gets pregnant, the government can ban her from getting an abortion. So make that make sense. That's what you voted for. In your selfishness. That's what you voted for. I'm going to find, go ahead, please.
Well, I could say a million things. I was actually just going to quickly point out a resource. Let me just look up this resource for whoever it is in the comments that's saying Trump won by a landslide. Trump did not even win 50% of the popular vote. You do understand that not even half of America